everyone, and welcome to the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show. I am Kay. I'm going to be your co-host, but with me is this amazing person over here, David. Tell us who you are and what the heck are we doing here? Chaotic Wholesome. So we thank you all for hanging out with us today. I am Kay. I am your other co-host. You can find me here with David every Tuesday. You can also find me every other Wednesday on the Emergency Power Podcast, where new episodes release. One is coming out heckin' tomorrow. Heck yeah. It's a good one, too. It's a really good one. You can also find me... You can also find me on the 25th. I will be over on Saucefire TV's channel. Oh, hey, Rex. I'm talking to chat. Oh. Let's see. That's a problem, because you just did our whole opener. Wow, y'all. Okay, where be OBS? Oh, so in case you all don't know, that Windows update messed up everything. Everything. Okay, David, try saying a thing.
I am trying to say a thing.
Okay, it should work now. Hi, we should start over.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show. Take two. I am Kay. I'm your co-host, but I'm here with this awesome person, who is David. David, who are you? What do you do?
Hi, I'm David. You can find me at Full Rubber Ducky, and every Tuesday, Kay and I host the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show, where we talk about TTRPG stuff. Not just Dungeons and Dragons. There's plenty of other stuff besides Dungeons and Dragons. With where you can find out how to be a better GM, how to be a better player, and with a focus on intersectionality and inclusion, so that the TTRPG space can be great for everybody.
And I'm really glad you were talking, because there was the funniest, weirdest sounding siren directly outside my door. It was like, woo, woo, woo. Chat couldn't hear that. I muted myself on chat, but you have to suffer through it, David.
Yep.
I am Kay. I am your other co-host. You can find me here every Tuesday doing this thing. You can also find me every other Wednesday, one of the other Wednesdays being tomorrow on the Emergency Power Podcast when new episodes release. You can also find me and Candace the Magnificent, who's hanging out in chat, over on Saucefire TV's channel, which is just Saucefire. On the 25th, we will be doing Waterdeep Tales, which is a wonderfully chaotic 5e homebrew game where we are animals in the world of people. And it's fun. And then coming up on the 29th, I will be in the Halls of the Mad King horror game, which is going to be over on the Red Hare Inn. But today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics.
Does Gamer Mom Luna have a VOD available for her talk show?
I'm sure she does. Yes. If you're curious about the personalities and the makeup of the Emergency Power Podcast, we just got to guest on Gamer Mom Luna's channel for Tales for the Tavern. We hung out for a couple hours and answered all audience questions and had a good time talking less about the game and just kind of more about our TTRPG experiences in general, but you get a taste for what you get in the podcast itself. So I know she has it available. There we go. You can pop right on over there. and check it out if you are so interested. Today, oh, look at me. I'm professional-ish. I totally forgot to put on our background music, which happens on occasion. Today, we're talking about one of my favorite. Hey, Rex! Talking about one of my favorite tropes, which is, and I'm waiting for the roasting from David to begin. I love me some edgelords.
Only the finest edgelords for K. If you are not the finest edgelord, go to the back of the line.
I love media with edgelords. I love playing edgelords. But let's be honest, an edgelord in media is very different from an edgelord or edgelady or edge monarch in a TTRPG space. When you're collaboratively telling a story, they can be a problem, as can standoffish characters. So you love people who are Aries. Yes. Look, y'all. My screen name is Damphir because of Vampire Hunter D. I have met both Kikuchi-sama and Amino. David has laughed at my ridiculous collection of Vampire Hunter D books. Both the novels and the art books. I love me some edgelords. I really do. I love Kylo Ren. I'm not into Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is not my...
I'll have you know, Bruce Wayne is not an edgelord. Batman is, though.
Crowbar separation there.
And we love that Bruce Wayne lives in Batman's attic. Continue.
So, more of a brooder, like Angel.
Ooh, that is a spicy take. I'm gonna piss off some people today.
So, I really love these characters. I like to think that I have successfully played... Yeah, I don't count Robert Pattinson's anything as anything.
Have you seen the Batman?
No.
Ooh, listen.
Why would I see the Batman?
That is a totally derail. I have so many things to say about that movie, most of them good, and that makes me angry.
I am very surprised. Color me surprised and impressed. It'll change your mind. It's not perfect, but it's wild. Damian Wayne is top notch. Yes. And his name is Damian. Which, fun fact, Kinley's original name was Damian.
Of course.
It's a whole journey. That's a whole journey. But I like to think that I have successfully played a couple edgelords, or in Soul's case, Edge Monarch, that my table has not hated and not wanted to crucify. Candace got to be on one of those, got to encounter Soul in a one-shot. And if you're wanting to play, and look, there are reasons to play mean characters. There are reasons to play aloof characters. There are reasons to play characters who don't necessarily gladly hop into the whole party dynamic. You should know what those reasons are. You should play into those strengths, because they can actually really make a party fun if you do it right. And you gotta do it right. So before we say anything more, and I hate to say that this is, I hate to say that, this should be obvious, because it's often not, but, 0 sessions. Have your 0 session. Talk to your GM about the kind of character you're wanting to play. Talk to your party and warn them, and ask them if they're okay with that, because, sometimes people are going through some hardships, and they don't necessarily need a jerk in their face in their TTRPG. And not every table and not every party needs an edgelord.
Yeah, and let us also point out that it is not easy to show up to a random table with a character sheet that is an edgelord, sit down and play. So for people like especially who are doing Adventurers League, um, people who are showing up to tabletop stores to play with miscellaneous people, maybe an edgelord is not your best way to lead.
Right. And as Candace is saying, I got to play Soul in TSL, which was a one shot. Um, and I have definitely played Cat, who's a Cat is not an edge lord, but Cat is definitely kind of a meaner, more standoffish character in a one shot with people I didn't know. Soul I did play with people I know well, but when I played Cat in Cyberpunk, it was with people I didn't know. So it can be done if you do it correctly, and if I gave them lots of warning, like, hey, Cat's a little bit mean. She's not always going to be nice, but like there's a. So we're going to go into my first like tip for any edge lord, any standoffish character, any aloof character, any character who is going to potentially cause friction, make things difficult for the party. Make sure they have a soft nougaty center somewhere. If they're mean and grizzled and unkind and uncaring down to their core, no, the party's not going to have fun with that. Because, go, David.
So there's this concept in writing where and there's a book titled Save the Cat where and I forget which movie as someone who's worked on many screenplays, I should know this off the top of my head, but I don't. Um, but there's a movie where this guy is basically a piece of shit, and then there's a cat in distress, and he saves the cat, and that is the moment when, as an audience, you go, "Okay, this guy isn't so bad." And the flip side to that is uh, ironically, kick the dog for K, but ironic for K,
Just for me.
fine for everyone else. Um, and the problem is, so if you're playing an edge lord, you have to give yourself a save the cat space. You have to, but and of course this is assuming that you're playing in a good person group. Like if you're playing a bunch of evil murder hobos,
Right.
like
Even
that's different.
even in a group of murder hobos, though, in order to keep the murder hobos from all turning on each other, if you're playing a bad guy campaign, you still got to find something for you all to a little bit coalesce around.
Yeah, and you know that, and like you said, like for like even if you're doing like oops all thieves, by the way, thank you Carrie, because I literally say oops all everything all the time now. But if you're doing, oops all thieves, and you guys are all stealing stuff and you're kind of shady, there still needs to be like honor among thieves, some sort of heart of gold like thing to make it work. um and so it's two parts. One, your character has to want to be there for whatever reason, whether it is blackmail or reluctantly or they're crusading for justice.
Sauce. For those watching the VOD, Sauce just rolled into chat and said this is just a ripoff of the most successful talk show, the Grayotic Wholesome Show. I am outraged. Sauce was whose name is Gray, is the wonderful guest from last week.
um, and so and we've had in media, we've had a lot of anti-heroes and we've had a lot of villains with very good points. um but one of the plot points that people always argue about is a villain will like one of their lackeys, one of their subordinates will fail at a task, and then they'll come back and report. Now, someone who's been with the organization for years, someone who has ostensibly trained and specialized to be this person's second in command or third in command or chief assassin or whatever, someone who has served dutifully, and with loyalty and conviction for however long, and then the bad guy kills them. And it's like that seems like, one, that's a human resources problem, and two, that seems like a waste of investment. And part of why they do this, part of why writers do this, is because it's an easy shortcut to a kick the dog moment. Um, and so, if you are writing villains and you want your villain to have a good point, where it's like, maybe Bruce Wayne is not such a good guy. Maybe if you're a billionaire, maybe you shouldn't be spin kicking drug dealers on a street corner who are just trying to get by, and maybe do something to address the structural issues going on in Gotham because you have $1 billion and tons of political influence. But you know, if you have a villain that you want to have a good point and still be a villain, they have to kick a dog somewhere. One of my favorite pictures on the internet is Cobra Commander absolutely booting a dog. It is fantastic. It's top notch. Like, this
If
is villainy in
if
one image.
if you have watched The Good Place, they literally give you the biggest tip off about the twist, and I won't say what it is, because if you've not seen The Good Place, please watch The Good Place. The Good Place is very excellent. It's Jeremy Bearimy goodness. But they literally seed this thing where if you're a writer, you're like, oh, I know where. Oh, wait. Oh.
Like
Continue.
they really did this thing on camera, and they're like, listen, we're painting you a picture here, and if you don't get it here, like if the froyo didn't get you, this is what gets you. And you're like, did they really? No. And I remember watching it the first season the first time, and I went, they really did this. It can't be, it can't be that obvious. And then I got to the end of the first season, I was like, holy shit, they and yeah, there are a lot of little things in The Good Place where it's like chef's kiss. Like you like this little moment was a love letter to someone who works in this field, whether it be um there's this great moment where one of the characters is like, I'm gonna go to the buffet and eat a bunch of waffles, and it's kind of a throwaway line. And over the course of the next couple of scenes where that character is not featurely or prominently featured, they're in the background, making an absolute disaster of the buffet table, just going nuts, just and no one ever comments on it, no one ever looks at, like. And I was just like, you know what, someone in catering, they asked someone in catering, and they're like, listen, tell us about like your pet peeves because we're putting it in here.
Yep.
And there are lots of like little things for costume designers and set dressers and writers, in addition to the fact that the show is awesome. um oh, listen, sauce.
Last
Each and
episode
every
is
one
worth
of
it.
us needs so sauce writes in chat, I didn't watch the last episode and I refuse to. Sometimes every human being on earth needs a good cry. Like, I honestly think that every politician should be forced to watch something that makes them cry once a year just to reconnect them with humanity.
I love how this episode is derailed into a Good Place fanboy episode.
Right. Um and ooh wee, is that, well, yeah, it's the best kind of sad. It is bittersweet sad. The end of it is perfect. Anyone who doesn't think that the ending of The Good Place is perfect, meet
They can
me
leave.
on the corner and we can fight it out on the street corner. Like, I will see you outside. But edgelords, the difference between an edgelord and a villain, the difference between an anti-hero and a terrible human being, is you kick the dog or you save the cat. And so when you bring your edgelord, make sure you save the cat.
And you can be tricksy about it, but you have to get you have to clue, even if it's not the party. And this is the thing I really love playing with when I play an edgelord, when I play an edgy character, when I play a mean character. So Soul, for example, and this is only from the first one, maybe 2 episodes that I'm in the Emergency Fire podcast. And Soul does this too, even in the TSL one-shot. They show up, and they're very loud about their negative qualities. They show up, and they're like, yes, I'm a criminal. I work at the black market. I can get you parts, but they probably won't be legal. Are you cool with that? They show up in TSL, and they're like, yeah, my king, you probably heard stories that my everything's a mess. That's not true. Don't believe it. Should believe it, right? They're setting themselves up early so that they can control a narrative, which is a power play to start with. And they will always tell you the worst thing about themselves.
Wait. Controlling a narrative is a power play? Where have we seen that before? Don't know anybody who has done that. Anyway, continue.
But very early, and I'm very lucky because I sat down with my GM and I'm like, look, I want to bring in this character. And the reason I wanted to bring in Soul to the Emergency Power podcast was when I listened to the story, it was very much a found family thing. And I wanted to bring in someone who, let's see, what can I say without spoiling? I wanted to bring in someone whom that would appeal to. David just shrank. I wanted to bring in a character that would appeal to them and just be so enticing and be something they desperately wanted but didn't believe they could have. So I worked with the GM and I'm like, look, I want to bring in this character. They're going to be a lot. They're going to be mean. But I sat down with the GM and we built up goals. I'm like, in the end, I want them to like go through this and feel this way about the group. I also said, here are some things that they're kind of weak to. And I'm very lucky that Adam immediately picked up on what I was laying down. Because I said, like, yeah, Soul is a jerk, but is going to befriend, like, the local, like, street gang kids. And they probably like Soul because they tip them very well. They will do more than they need to. And so Adam comes back and is like, here's an NPC for that you know, this is your primary contact, By the way, she likes purple flowers. To which my immediate reaction as Soul is like, oh, fuck, now I have to go find a purple flower. Ugh. So it became a whole quest of we have to get a purple flower. Why? Soul's not telling the party. Once Soul delivered the flower, no one has asked, but if anyone asked, hey, whatever happened to that flower? Oh no, I must have lost it. So you can have some fun playing with, give the audience, if it's a stream, give the players, if it's a home game, give the people behind the characters an insight, a window that there is something more to this character. There is something good deep down, even if the characters themselves aren't privy to it, and that is going to build an affection between the players and this character. Also, like, if you're playing, especially if you're playing a jerk character, because not all edgelords are complete jerks, right? But this also applies to if you're playing a jerk, if you're playing a mean character, you're gonna take a loss on occasion. When something bad happens to you, the party is going to celebrate it. Because you're a jerk. So be ready for that and don't get defensive, right? But you should also kind of plan and plant some cute little quirks to do. So one of my characters is also kind of edgelordy and very standoffish and doesn't like to be around people, but like will hang around the group, but then like we set up camp and they go away on their own, right? At one point people were like, hey, like you did a good thing today, thanks. And they're like, did the edgelord thing and walked off. And I'm like, as soon as they're around the tree with their back to the party, they just turn bright red and they start blushing. They cannot handle the compliment. So the party didn't know that. I think Kay is low-keying on me here. Nah, Sauce, you're fine. The party didn't know it, but the players were like, wait, that Vampire Hunter D wannabe edgelord just like turned bright pink the minute our back was turned. It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, there's that nougaty center, right? It can be little things that you start planting, and then if they do the whole fight and they you do the nat one, you whiff it, it's really bad. It's just a nightmare of a thing. And then you're like, oh, I'm fine, and then like later that night, you see them like kind of sitting there, rocking back and forth, like, I whiffed it. I whiffed it. No, it's okay. It's okay. You'll do better next time. Depending on how much you want to ham it up, you can really have fun with it. And just because a character, if any of you are watching A Court of Fae and Flowers, one of the characters does this. And they're like, it's so funny, and it doesn't make this character any less of a powerful character, doesn't make them any less of a power player within the game itself. But it's so funny to see this character be like, okay, like, yeah, I'm gonna do, okay, and then be like, you're a big boy, time to be a big boy. And then he goes into the fight whispering time to be a big boy to himself. It's hilarious. David, could you tilt your camera down? Just a smidge, now that your chair has...
I'm just gonna...
Technical difficulties, y'all.
Yeah. Continue.
So, if you want to play one of these characters, it really will help you, as a player at a table being liked, if you can be incredibly thoughtful and notice things. And if you can have your character, react to things quietly. This is not an edgelord thing. Kinley is about as far from an edgelord as you can get. But Kinley, for one of the things that he did is he found out a character in the party really liked children and flowers, and couldn't accept gifts or thank yous from like people that he knows. So before it was said, I like kids and I like flowers, I just noticed. And then had Kinley compose a little song, and so Kinley is playing the song to any characters that he meets along the way to convince children that it's good luck if they give a flower to this pink-skinned tiefling. So kids keep showing up and giving flowers to this tiefling, and the player's like, wow, this is so nice. Like, I haven't said it, but my character really likes kids and flowers. And I'm like, if you can find little ways to do that, if you're edgelord, a character had a really bad day, and you as the player have noticed this character really likes this, so your edgelord or your jerk character feels something similar, because usually these characters are damaged for a reason, which is another thing we'll get to. If it's something they can relate to, if it's something they understand, they're too emotionally repressed to talk about it, maybe they just drop off their favorite food, outside their door, or leave a flower by their sleeping bag, so when they wake up it's there. Little things that they will deny, they will not take credit for, but they have done that can be found, will go a long way towards endearing. Because if your characters are always swapping things, it's not that big a deal. But you need to create these emotional pauses, these emotional moments, where players and or characters can go like, oh, this character has a heart, is reaching out, has noticed. That'll make such a difference in your roleplay. Also, make your jerk character useful.
So, that actually leads to a point I have. Regardless of whether it's an edgelord or not, your character should be interesting. Like, the character that you want to play, regardless of what kind of character that you want to play, can and should be interesting. You don't have to. Everything you do is. Saucefire says, "Can I make my jerk character sexy?" And I'd argue there's no way that Saucefire can make a character that isn't sexy.
And also, what's the point of a jerk character if they're not sexy?
Right.
That triggers
And
every "I want to fix him" player out there. Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm hoping to find a woman like that one day. No. When it comes to edgelords, give them a personality. And I know that seems obvious, except a mistake that I see with edgelords all the time is they come in one of two types. Either one, I'm too cool to do anything ever,
Mhm.
and my personality is I am contrary to everyone and everything. Um, and for one, no one who is with a group of people for any extended of time, stretch of time, one does nothing, and two is contrary to everything the party wants to
Mhm.
do. Like if you go outside, you say, "Oh, it's a nice day," the edgelord will be like, "No, it's not." Being a contrarian is not a personality, and for ultimately, regardless of what type of TTRPG you play, whatever type of character um, setup you have, whether you're a high school kid, um, like in the game that Candace ran on uh, Inside Check's channel last Friday, um, or or in Monster Hunters Club, or um, like there's more than just like I'm a person with a sword and I go bonk things. But if you play a character, that character is the main character to their own story,
Mhm.
and no story is worth telling where nothing happens.
Yeah.
So if you spend, a big chunk of the first part of your session, or the start of every adventure with the rest of the party and the quest giver trying to convince the one person that they should be a part of this and participate, that's not going to work, because realistically, if you have four thieves and three thieves are like, let's go rob Bruce Wayne, and the other one's like, I'm too cool to rob Bruce Wayne, they'll be like, awesome, fantastic, see you later, we'll see you when we get back, we'll see you after Batman mysteriously spin kicks us. um So, you know, give your edgelord agency, make them want to do something,
Mhm.
and don't just be a contrarian. Like, I know people in real life that ostensibly like things but complain about everything. And that's very different from I don't like anything.
Mhm.
Also, that's a terrible, terrible, terrible personality trait. Like, anyone anyone can find flaws in something. You don't need to find flaws in everything,
Right.
especially things that you in theory enjoy.
And
So,
say it real quick. There's a difference between "I enjoy this thing, it has flaws, and we should discuss why and how it should be better," and "I hate this thing."
yeah, absolutely. And an argument that I will do an entire show on this, but an argument I will make is there's a difference between good and bad versus I like and I don't like.
Mm. Yeah.
There are plenty of things that I like that are not good, and there are plenty of things that I do not like that are good, and that's okay. But conflating I like with this is good is always a mistake. Like, for instance, I like Sauce, but he's a very bad boy.
Mm. This is very true. He hates it, and he's too cool for it.
Right.
Um, but yeah, figure out, if your character is going to be difficult, like, why are they going along? The "why are they going along" is on you, the player.
Yeah.
Like, yes, if at some point, and I've said this many times, Telp says, "It does not recognize me without the colander on my head." You know, you know, that's fair. Um, I completely got derailed. Figure out why you would go along. If you go through a game and the GM throws a major curveball at you, and you just got through a heartbreaking thing, and GMs, as they sometimes do, have just killed your entire family, right? And you're like, I don't know that my character can or wants to go on right now. That is a time when you and your GM need to talk it out, because your GM does bear some responsibility for that at that point. However, I just showed up and I don't know if I want to go on this journey. That is different. That is on you, the player, to have in your head already. Welcome, Gum! So, I will also say, as David was, in addition to David's commentary, like, being contrary is not a personality. Being contrary is also not really a mystery. If you're wanting to play an aloof character or an edgelord, it doesn't have to be the case for your mean character, right? Mean characters gonna do what mean characters gonna do. But if you are creating a mysterious edgelord, you need to have a mystery to seed, and you need to seed it often. If you have ever been a GM, you understand this, and if you've watched The Good Place, you've also seen this. You can drop 50 hints. You can have been seeding hints 50 different times, 50 different locations. And your characters will be like, I just figured out. We just came across this one clue, and this one clue is everything I needed to figure it out. And it's like, cool, there were 50 before. I'm glad you picked it up on number 51. So if you are playing a mysterious character, if Soul, I'm keeping a whole lot about them and their background hidden. I'm not announcing it. We don't even know what race or species Soul is. That's not out there. No one has asked, but Soul has dropped a number of hints about themselves. And you have to start doing that. If your character, if you want people to care about your tragic backstory for your edgelord or your mean character, the place to do it is not okay, we've been traveling together for 5 sessions, we're at the bar, you've had a single ale. I'm gonna tell you the entire story of my tragic past.
Right.
Don't info dump me your tragic history, right? I mean, you can, and that's fine. But if you want people to actually, a lot of people get upset, they're like, no one asked. You have to hint, you have to seed. No one's gonna read your mind, especially if you're a jerk, they're not gonna beg too much. But if you give those moments of everyone's walking ahead, you pass a cornfield and you stop. And you stare out past the cornfield. And you see their eyes cloud over. And someone is like, hey, I go back and I check on so-and-so. I'm like, you have to say their name twice before sorry, what? That's when people are going to be like, what's with you in a cornfield? That will start people wanting to know more about your character. And you can use that, you don't have to info dump then either. You can be like, last time I was in that cornfield, it was with someone I loved. And you keep walking. And you don't say more. That's when people are like, wait, hold on. There's something cool there. I've been monologuing and I've not been able to read the chat. David, talk some. Help me.
I'm busy.
You were just having a great time, I could see. So yeah, drop hints. Drop them often. Be mysterious by seeding questions and ideas, not with silence. If it's all like, what about you, so-and-so? What's your best memory? I don't have good memories. No, that doesn't... Your best memory... I can't talk about that without remembering someone who I'm not ready to talk about yet. Oh! That statement says a whole lot. So, start... And that...
Or, my best memory is also my worst memory. The day the orphanage burned down.
you can start being as vague as clearly they lost someone, or oh, their orphanage burned down. Cool. So when are we gonna talk about that?
Also, your tragic backstory and what makes you an edgelord should not be a mystery to your GM. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and this leans more into extended plays, like
Right.
longer campaigns. But if your character isn't the sort of character to talk about their past when obviously there's a lot there, give that to your GM, give them an opportunity to put things in places so that it triggers memories, it
Mm-hmm.
invites conversation, it invites these reveals. Like, I would have your edgelord character start seeing visions of like burning children pointing in a direction, and the always pointed due west, and you don't know why. Um,
Yeah.
and then all the other players would be like, "What are you staring at?" It's like, "Oh, nothing." It's like, "No, no, no. It's been nothing the past 10 times." With, "Oh, it's a burning kid. They're pointing west," and then it's like, "Excuse me, what?"
Yeah. And so yeah, that was one of the things I was going to say is like make sure you know why they're mean, and it can be as simple as oh I had a tragic past, but start figuring out where's some little layers and flavor you could put onto that because let's be honest, lots of characters have had a pretty tragic past. So like what's the interesting flavor? What's there beyond just like yeah, everyone I know has died. Okay, cool, that sucks. Okay, yeah, everyone I know has died. But I seem to get about a solid 6 months in love with a person before they die. And it seems to be consistent. Like, oh, what the? That gets a lot more interesting. It can also just be like I'm laughing. I tweeted about this a while ago. I wrote up this character and I was like, ha ha ha. Like they miss like a lot of their misery. A lot of the reason they are as damaged as they are is that they are shitty at communication, and because they were shitty at communication, they got hurt when this thing happened. And if they had talked about it, it wouldn't have happened. But they didn't talk about it, so they feel betrayed and abandoned, and they reacted to this perceived betrayal and abandonment by spiraling in this particular way. Ha ha ha! What a ridiculous thing! And then my cat died. And I was like, oh, I am spiraling in this exact same way. I just realized that I told on myself. So be aware, once you start digging into these things, you might have a couple moments of like, oh, I'm telling myself. Oh, I might want to talk to my therapist about that. Um, but figure out, like, why are they hurt? And remember, your character, especially if you're wanting a complex character, shouldn't always be the victim in the situation, or shouldn't be entirely blameless in a situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Characters who have
Like,
made poor decisions are fascinating to dig into. Continue, David. I cut you off. Oh, you typing. I'm watching you.
I'm typing. Yeah.
um, yeah, and so if you create this character who clearly has some tragedy, and you and your GM have worked together and you have figured out that yes, this what happened is tragic, and your character had a hand in it, or maybe could have changed it, or didn't, or made a bad decision, or whatever, and then the party has cued in on this tragic backstory and are invested in like trying to help repair your character's heart, and then the full story comes out and you are at least partially at fault. Oh, that puts the party in a very interesting situation.
Rex says I had 5 players at the start of the campaign, four who would not talk about their backgrounds at all. You're all riding in the wagon. What are you doing? Not talking to anyone, and one who would just talk, which mood. And you could play there's like a dynamic there. Like you put Kinley on that wagon, everyone's gonna be ready to kill Kinley by the end. Um, and but
Welcome,
yeah,
Carrie.
like um, your ears must have been burning, Carrie. But ultimately, you can't forget about the R in TTRPG. Um, like you have a role. The idea is to role play,
Mhm.
and if like yeah, like there is a way to tell a story where the protagonist is flat and uninteresting. I'm looking at you, Star Wars. Um, and before anybody comes from my head, give me one quote from Luke Skywalker off the top of your head that isn't him screaming no after he lost his hand. Just any but you put a cast of characters around this person that is dynamic and engaging. You've got Chewie, you've got Han Solo, you've got Princess Leia, uh, you've got Billy D. Williams. And I understand Lando Calrissian, but he's Billy D. Billy D.
That's
went
fair. That's totally
he
fair.
went to his closet, threw on some Soul Glow, and then stood in front of the camera. Anyway, you have these interesting cast of characters around it, but you can't have an interesting cast of characters around a whole set of insignificant, like unmoving, unspeaking, uncommunicative characters. Like that type of storytelling doesn't work, especially when it's interactive storytelling. Like it's interactive storytelling, so you have to interact.
Yeah. And so we've talked about this, danced around a little bit, but figure out, why are they mean? Why are they standoffish? Why do they not trust people with their heart? And I think, in a way, that question, why do they not trust people with their heart, with their story, with whatever, is a little bit of a better story building than why are they mean? Because people are mean for lots of reasons.
Yep.
What is the
Sometimes people.
core? Right. What is the reason they are mean? What is the reason they are standoffish? And ask yourself, how can they heal? What do they need to grow? Because David and I have talked about this. As many of you know, I'm a little bit of an addict for Critical Role. I've seen all of it. I just hit my mic. Sorry. David, the caption said I just hit my mic, but capital M-I-K-E. Sorry, Mike. David watched Vox Machina, the animated series, and was like, I hate how much I like Grog, right?
Yeah.
And
Mm.
like Grog is so charming. And again, Grog is not a mean character, but you could easily see how the big dumb barbarian would be mean. Like it would make sense, but because it was so opposite and he was so sweet. But on top of that, David said, you look at these characters and like the first season of Vox Machina is all about Percy's arc, and Percy is looking for revenge, for family, for redemption. Percy is an actively looking character. Percy is driving a story. Grog, one of the reasons he stands out, Grog has what he needs. Grog has Pike. It's not that Grog's story is complete, but Grog was a hurting individual, found the thing, which was a person, to help him heal and move forward, and is happy. What would it take to start that growth for your character? And when you're planning this, and when you're talking to your GM, and when you're making sure that the party is down to deal with an edgelord or a jerk character, make sure that you communicate at the very least with your GM if you have a plan for how this character is going to grow or how they're going to recover. And don't lie to your party about it. If you're like, I'm going to tell them that they're going to like be nicer eventually, but then never do it, they're not gonna trust you. They're not gonna have fun because they'll be like, okay, you know what, this character's gonna be a jerk, but like eventually we're gonna see the softer side. And if they never see the softer side, even House returned House kind of half returned the hug. House went and got the motorcycle after he refused to hug the little kid, which that was his version of returning the hug. But like every mean character, House MD, that's an older. I just realized how dated that reference is now.
And Sherlock Holmes, like, you find his soft nougaty center. Well, specifically, Dr. Watson finds his soft nougaty center when Sherlock Holmes power bottoms in the evenings after the like they do a couple of rails, and then Mr. Holmes throws his legs up and he's like, Watson, get in.
Right. You got to be honest about what you're pulling off, and some people can't pull off intelligent evil. Gun Malino says, and yes, it can be. God, I was terrified when I built my character for Mothership, and I was so excited to play this creepy android, and then like I was like, oh no, my last 4 TTRPG characters, not one of them broke a 9 intelligence. And suddenly I'm playing a hyper intelligent android. Oh no, I hope I could pull this off. So, you know, you might have to adjust on the fly. We often talk about you don't always know what your character's voice is going to be, and sometimes you plan, but then you sit down at the table and you open your mouth and that thing comes out and you're like, well,
that's that.
Here we are, I guess. Oh my goodness, Carrie's making me blush.
Right. Especially with Data right there.
Look, Data and young me.
Yeah.
I like him androgynous, you know this.
Yeah, you're telling on yourself.
I know this. So don't figure out what is.
Why Data and Jordy spent so much time.
Look, I shipped Data and Jordy before I even knew I was shipping them. I'm just like, I like it when those two are together. I've never heard the term gay because I live in small town Texas. Like, I've never heard gay in a not bad context. So I don't understand why I just want them to spend all of their adventure time together on the holodeck. But that's what I want to happen. Yeah. Figured that one out. So yeah. Be honest with yourself about like what can you pull off, because it can be very, very, very difficult to play a very angry, surly, unhappy character. Like that can seep into your soul. So make sure you're down to play that character. Like I love playing Cat. I don't know that I want to play Cat in an incredibly long-term game, because look, Cat has that really soft nougaty center, and she will get really protective over certain people, but also, God, she's cynical. And I'm cynical enough without having to really get in that mindset every single week. Be honest with yourself, be honest with your GM and your party about, are they going to grow? And, you know, how fast? And if you find that you're like, I really want this character to grow faster. I don't feel like we're connecting. Slip over into your partner's ears, to your fellow players' DMs, and just be like, hey, look, I love playing with y'all. I don't feel like my character is connecting, or I don't feel like da-da-da-da. Any chance there would be any reason that your character would bring up this thing, or, hey, you know, I think your character has a thing about flowers. If we did a scene in the flowers, would you do a one-on-one with me? Because I really need my character to open up, and this is a way for us to do it. And especially if your character is not connecting, because, again, a lot of people equate mean and standoffish and distant as cool. And in a TTRPG, it's often not. In an anime, it could be very cool, right? It's TTRPG, you gotta seed it. You gotta do it the right way. And if people are like, I have this character is weird and I cannot connect to them, and you come to them and say like, hey, I know my character's been difficult. I really want them to connect with the group more. Would you be willing? Usually they're gonna be like, oh yes, please, because I'm tired of avoiding this character. I'm tired of like waiting for the snarky one-liner before you.
Yep.
Because we all want to have fun at the table, like, let's be honest. You need to murder someone for an evil point? Cool, got one for you. This chat is just, like, hopping about Data and Star Trek. Like, this is great.
Listen, the next generation is one of the finest things to happen to media. Period. The end.
Have I shown you, David, I have an amazing piece of art that one of my friends did that is Geordi and Data, but they're photoshopped on the BBC Sherlock and Watson.
No.
It's so good. I threw down money so fast for that one. Oh yeah, now we're going Star Trek versus Star Wars versus Stargate. Yeah, we gotta chat's gonna blow up.
Listen, Stargate has a lot of things going for it. So if you have not seen Stargate, it's fantastic. I hate it when people say this, but I'm gonna say it. Watch until the second season, because the second season is when it's good. Gross. I hate it so much. But, and again, I could do an entire episode on this. I could do like a full essay, dissertation on how I'd argue the best depiction of a strong woman character in possibly all of fiction, at least possibly all of science fiction, is Amanda Tapping's character. Why do I remember the actress's name and not the character? Samantha Carter. Is this better? But Samantha Carter is portrayed as a person before she's portrayed as a woman. And in so many fictional depictions of women, they are portrayed as women first, and then their femininity is used against them. I'm looking at you, George R.R. Martin. I got a whole lot of questions. I have a whole lot of... George R.R. Martin makes me angry for a lot of reasons, but we're not going down that slippery slope right now. But yeah, we're talking about Edgelords. We're not talking about Star Trek versus Star Wars versus Stargate
versus Game of Thrones.
Two of those are really good, and it's okay to enjoy all of them. Teal'c is Christopher Judge, been killing it for decades, and people don't know. Anyway.
Yes. George R. Martin is like, it's historic. Hold on. It's historically accurate to the time. Oh, that time had dragons, did it?
Right. It's like, what time is this?
Also, like, we got incest. We got all this stuff going on, and the thing that everyone balks at is, a woman can't be a knight.
Also hot, like Brienne of Tarth.
Brienne, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I might have to climb on the back of a horse in order to get up to that, but worth it.
This is not the time, but I am not telling the story every time. I am not telling the story every time Brienne is brought up. This was after the end of the series, so we know how this ended, but I was at an event with an individual who had decided that he was interested in me and was convinced he could fix my aceness. Was just convinced he could fix my aceness. And starts in on me about, like...
Bold of him to assume that it needed fixing.
Well, even beyond that, which, yes, he decided the thing to say was, oh, you're just Brienne and you just need to find your Jamie.
Gross. Gross. Gross.
You... Lockout in the comments saying I just load up the channel and Kay immediately we got incest. We're talking about Game of Thrones. We got off of Edgelords and onto Game of Thrones, and that's my fault. That is my fault. But welcome, Lockout. But yes, we can turn this, we can steer this ship back towards Edgelords if we like. Chat, y'all are blowing it up. Y'all are awesome. Gross, says Candace, redeeming a highlight comment. Yes, it was a moment.
One last point. If you are disabled, if you are missing a limb, let Jaime Lannister be an example. Because not only did he figure out how to live with that, but he also had a very vibrant dating life. Part of that dating life was his sister, so maybe don't take that part. But, you know, he's still getting it. So, you know, don't let it hold you back. You get it too. And that's dating advice from the Chaotic Wholesome Show.
I don't have alcohol to wash that down with, David.
Right.
Chat, I am so sorry.
Right.
And so the other thing I'm going to say that's really important if you're playing an edgelord or an edge lady or an edge monarch, if you're playing an aloof or standoffish character, if you're playing a mean character, communicate, communicate, communicate. Communicate. Tell people, I just want you to know, like, I love your character. I like you. I love playing with you. I love your character. My character's a jerk. I know what I'm about to do is mean. If you make sure you communicate that and you are being too mean, you will probably notice that you're being too mean because you're like, oh, our last 6 conversations was me saying, I'm sorry my character is mean, and that's all they've done is be mean. That starts to suck when you start looking at it. So that's a nice little barometer there. But you give them a softer side on occasion. Or sometimes aloof characters or mean characters, part of the problem is they don't pick up on the nice things other people do or say. Communicate that. It's amazing the difference between, like, oh, I look at... So this is a moment that happened in Emergency Power with Soul, who... Soul is glittery. Soul is bright. They're not dressed in black. They have literally sparkly skin. They have tattoos. They're shiny and pretty. But they're the glitteriest edgelord out there. They are such an edge monarch. It is just oppressive. At one point, there was friction with the more uptight character, my chaotic leaning towards straight up unlawful like, character didn't like the more rigid character, and they'd had a little bit of friction. And the 5e, the more lawful character, went through a fight and came up and was like, just good out there, right? Like, that was good. Like, extended the olive branch. And Soul completely didn't comprehend that it was an olive branch, that it was a nice thing. They're like, of course I did good. That's what I do. That back there, that's what I do. But I communicated in such a way that they seemed confused, and then I made sure that I circled back with the player to say, like, I recognize what you did. Soul didn't, right? And so you want to make sure you separate. You what you think and what you feel and what your character thinks and what your character feels, especially because, as we talked about earlier, you're going to take an L. And everyone's going to be happy when you miss, when you fall, when you get duped, when you... Posture checking? Right. Everyone is going to be celebrating that you messed up because your character is mean. And if you sit there and go, well, you were mean to me after you've been mean the entire time, that's going to be a problem. My captions have stopped again.
Yes, like the separation between character and performer is essential, because I remember the day that I went to the Grove. For those unfamiliar with Los Angeles, it is a Rick Caruso commercial monstrosity attached to one of the oldest fixtures in Los Angeles. It's a tourist trap.
Yeah, very much.
I went, and there was so much security and so many people. I thought to myself, let me check and see if the president is in town. No, the president was not in town. Some soap opera, I think Days of Our Lives, was having a cast meet and greet. And they had security like they had the nuclear launch codes. They had security like they were expecting a mob to overrun the place. And guess what? There was a mob of old ladies who from like 30, 40, 50 feet away were screaming at a couple of the male actors for things that their characters did. It's like, you left her when she was pregnant, you cheated on her with her twin sister, and then the twin sister got cancer and died, and all of this is your fault. How dare you? And the dude's up there just like, what can I say except you're welcome? But yeah, you have to separate the two, because if you don't, then and talking to Kay about separating herself from her characters. Ooh-wee. That's another whole episode we could do.
I'm not bad. I don't bleed. I recognize when, like, you know.
Oh, you mean bleed through from? Okay, I was about to say. I was like, wait a second. Quite literally. If you don't, we could fix that. Just no. Like there were layers to that took me a while to unpack. No, Kay doesn't bleed through from character to like character and player. However, parts of Kay show up in all of her characters.
I mean, I think that's fair for just about everyone. Yes, I am a Dampier, but I do still, if you prick me, I do still bleed. But no, like, and again, so some of you know, Vampire Hunter D was a major influence for me. One of the other major influences was the fictional series, multiple series written by Larry Dixon and his wife Mercedes Lackey, including Vanielle, one of the edgiest of edgelords. But oh my god, if you have not seen read the Magic trilogy, Magic's Promise, Magic's something, Magic's Price, Magic. Yeah, the captions are having a moment, and they stopped working, but they're behaving. Magic's Promise, Magic's Price is the last one. It's Magic's Promise. Anyhow. So
Magic's Pawn.
Pawn, that's the one.
Listen, the Last Herald Maid trilogy is some of the finest fiction I've ever read. It
destroyed me. I was reading it in college, and I was just like bent over a bed sobbing for like a week and a half. And I am fortunate enough that early in my career, I met Larry Dixon, and he kind of took me under his wing when I was a working artist, and he helped me out a whole lot. And one free comic book day, we had things next to each other. We had tables next to each other. And he's like, do you want to meet my wife? And I'm like, Right. So I like collect myself. I don't fangirl that often, but when something utterly destroys you the way that the last Herald Mage trilogy utterly destroyed me, so I go to walk up to meet Mercedes, and I'm like, and I came prepared. I brought my books. Not gonna lie, I have like all of their books signed. I go walking up, and I'm like, it's so nice to meet you, and we kind of start we small talk, and she's signing my book, and I'm like, and then I'm like, how could you do that to Danielle? I'm so sorry. And then we all laughed about it, right? If you are gonna have that outrage, if you're gonna have that like explosive moment, backing it up and being like, oh, I don't normally react that way, can be a great way to break that tension. We had a moment, and I can't say the situation, but we had a moment in the Emergency Power podcast where Soul was outraged at this character who was doing a terrible, terrible things on multiple levels, and starts monologuing in battle. Because let's be honest, if you're an edgelord, you get to monologue in battle as a free action. Like, it's been decided.
Yep.
The Griffin series is so good. It's the one that so Soul is like monologuing and starts yelling at this person about you're doing terrible things, and Soul doesn't care if you do terrible things. Soul's moral compass is like, there are lots of bad people in the world and you can't get rid of them. Oh, totally external. They are lecturing. Hey, Kato. They are lecturing this guy. I almost gave stuff away. They're lecturing this guy as they're fighting. And they're like, you're doing terrible things. Soul doesn't care if you do terrible things to terrible people, right? There are terrible people who deserve to do terrible things to each other. There are people with more money than sense, and it's okay to take advantage of them. It's okay to take advantage of money-grubbing corporations. I don't care. And if you try to take out every single bad person in the world, more bad people are just going to come and replace them. You just create a vacuum. So it's okay to be bad. I don't care if you're bad, so long as your badness remains within boundaries. Don't care. If you cross those boundaries, you get people like me coming to kill you, right? That's their view of the world. So the party kind of knew this, and Soul just starts monologuing at this bad guy in the middle of the fight about, like, you're doing terrible things. But the thing was, if you're going to do these terrible things, you're not even doing them well. You're making everyone I know who's good at this look bad. You don't have respect of people, and you're trying to do all of this, and you're doing it poorly, and you're setting a bad example, and you're giving us a bad name. And the entire party just burst out laughing. Because this idea was, it's not that Rome burned, it's that it burned poorly from this point of view. So why is this character mad? What is their moral compass? Like, what sets them off? What makes them mean? Can be this hilarious, fun thing that makes this character more interesting. Because it's like, wait, you said that? That's a fun conversation for later to circle back to. You said that. What do you... Also,
I mean,
who do you know who's running an evil empire? Do you actually know that? Yeah? Okay.
I mean, it's the complaint that I have about billionaires. It's like, ignoring the good that you could do for humanity, they're being rich, evil bastards boringly. Like, they make dick-shaped rockets. And it's like, you could have an army of clowns. You could make a real, live, genetically engineered gelatinous cube. Like, you could start digging a pit in the middle of nowhere and just keep going down. Just because. Like, call up the guys at Cards Against Humanity and just get ideas from them. Because with their ideas and your money, you could make something hilarious.
We don't with Cards Against Humanity. Don't give them anything more.
No.
They are racist pricks. Fair. Don't give them anything. But
like I said, you take some evil jackholes and give them more money, and you get more interesting, like, evil things. Still evil, still bad, still reprehensible, still should be applied differently, but, like, how can you have $1 billion and not be having a good time? Like buy a private island and put a Ferris wheel on it. Like something. Something.
So, I have talked a lot. I really the final big point that I'm gonna do. Do not get personal with your meanness from your mean or edge monarch character. If there's anything if you start if you're like, oh, well, this person is really shy and they're playing a shy character, maybe don't just focus, don't be mean about the fact that this character is shy. Don't rely on racist tropes for your character. Don't get personal. In fact, it's funnier if you can come up with reasons that for weird reasons that they don't like. Look at, if you watch Critical Role, Chutney has the weirdest reasons to mistrust people, and it's hilarious, especially when he ends up being right. But I can't say too much because certain people hanging out here, but those of you who watch the original Godplane, if you there's a point where one of the characters says, like, I don't like you because you smell like a certain thing, and that thing wasn't you smell bad, it was you smell like this thing. And everyone was like, that's the weirdest reason. It was a fun hint, but it was also just like, what do you mean? It was like, you smell like, oh gods, what can I say that won't give, I don't want to give things away. It was like, you smell like rock music. And everyone's like,
and your mother smells of elderberries.
no, yes. Elderberries. Yeah, I mean, elderberries do smell bad. So that's a very valid.
Like, if you're gonna roast somebody, take notes from Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail, the Frenchmen. They know how to get in there. Like, if one of those Frenchmen cuts you down, you feel it in your core. And it's like, you know, I don't trust this person because they eat burritos with a fork and knife. Like, one, very good reason not to trust someone.
Very good.
Two, kind of off the wall. Three, not racist at all.
So, chat. We've been talking a lot. A person who laces their shoes top to bottom. Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, think
absolutely.
like a 7th grader. Gummello. They pick some wild things to dislike people for. Yeah, like, children are savage. And, like, I'm not talking like, you smell like poop, right? Children will come up with weird things, and it's like, Like, what was the, if you watch Misfits, Kelly, the Chav character, is, like, in there scraping her hair back, and she, the other character, she hears, oh, I don't want to say it, but the other character is like, that's right, scrape it back. And she spins around, she's like, whoa, and are ready to throw hands over that. Characters will never trust someone who cooks a steak well done. Propane and propane accessories. So,
but firmly ask them to
leave. So, chat, we have talked a lot. Do you have questions? Do you have an edgelord or a mean character story that you would like to share? I would like for you to start typing it up. The hem of your shirt sits too high on the left side. Or like you didn't notice that one speck of dirt on your thumbnail. Yeah, you show up one day with like mismatched shoes, and that's all you're ever known for. Oh, I've triggered something in David. We have unlocked a core memory.
When it comes to random weird things to not like people for, I once like went after a dude because he had a full Windsor knot in his tie. And there are a couple of things wrong. For one, for the suit he was wearing and for his build, a full Windsor was just screamed short man syndrome. It's like, I want to make myself look bigger. And also, he wore a full Windsor to a wedding, which, if you don't know, it is a faux pas to wear a full Windsor to a wedding because you wear a half Windsor to the wedding, and assuming it's not black tie, the groom
Where's that?
wears a full Windsor.
Also, I need you to know that the captions are talking about wearing a full wizard to a wedding, and that's a whole mental image that I'm just
I
gonna have
mean,
to wrestle with the rest of tonight.
mood. And so I wonder if it picks up Windsor. Windsor. Oh
It
no, it
does.
does. Yeah.
Sometimes it does, but sometimes it's like, yeah, full wizard to a wedding.
And I saw this guy across the room. I was like, I don't like him. And they're like, why don't you? It was like, man showed up wearing a full Windsor to a wedding. Look at him. Like he should dress like Munch off of Law and Order SVU. He's got like a long lanky build, like embrace the like narrow thing, get yourself a thin tie, get yourself a cool hat, like lean into. No. He's trying to make himself look bigger and what I don't like him. He's insecure. And I just made all these just terrible character assessments. I
And then,
assassinated this man's character.
and
And
then,
I find out 6 weeks later, one, a whole bunch of bad things happened at the wedding that he was the centerpiece of, and all of the tea from all the things that he did in the past started coming out, and everybody's like, so you talked about so and so. I was like, who is that? And they're like, the guy with the time. I'm like, yeah, I hate that guy. And they're like, they're like, well, actually,
and yes,
who
Vivian
we
says, never go full wizard.
never go forward.
Um, so, if you have stories or cautionary tales, like, because we love some horror stories too, about edgelords or mean characters, pop them in chat. And while we do that, I haven't even told David this yet. My friend Stephanie, who was on one of our first episodes of Chaotic
Yep.
Wholesome, sent me a little gift that just arrived today. And is it going to pick up? It is going to pick up the
That is super
foiling.
cool.
This,
Oh, it's a tarot deck.
it's a Taroka
that's
deck. This is the Taroka deck from Curse of Strahd and
Whoa.
Ravenloft.
Ooh.
So this is okay. I have an oversized tarot deck, which is what my favorite deck to use. It's this one. This is, beautiful. Look at the size. Of course, I'm not doing this any justice. It is so big. It is bigger than the oversized tarot deck. And here come the sirens. I'm going to jail. But yes, thank you, Stephanie. These just arrived today. I cannot wait to play with them and dig it all up. There's super cool divination stuff that you get to do in-game with these. And I'm occasionally known to do a horror game, so I don't know. Maybe. Foiled again. But ching! So, thank you, Stephanie. And there's ravens in the middle? Because is Ravenloft?
Yep.
And that's Dracula's castle. Of course, it's not going to focus when I want it to. Anyhow. So, yeah, David, I know you've dealt with a couple edgy edgelords in your past. They're finally arresting Kay for all the mayhem. The chaos is caught up with me.
Yep. Here's a question, because you've told us about Dee from Vampire Hunter. We've discussed Bruce Wayne and who dwells in his basement. Who outside of those, who are your favorite edgelords?
Okay, so this is going to be a really weird answer, but I need you to contextualize it, okay? Because for the setting, now first off, Vincent Valentine.
Yes.
Okay, let me
Absolutely.
just that needs to just, for the setting, for what it is, I am not saying they are the most edgelordy of edgelords, but I am saying, especially in the original series, in the first season, they are an edgelord for this setting. James from Team Rocket.
That explains so much.
if you look at James from Team Rocket, like, that is the edgelord of a Pokemon setting.
That is hilarious.
I am real, and also Jareth the Goblin King.
Fair. Fair. Who really is a service top.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Which I feel ways about.
I move the stars for no one, but I will reorder time, turn the world upside down, and do it all for you.
Right. Hoo-wee. Labyrinth hits different as an adult.
Yeah, it does.
Gum says, my favorite for mean quasi-evil characters is someone who points out things that are technically correct. Like the party was caring for someone who was sick and stuck in a dream state. An in-game frenemy went into the dream after helping research that not only had the party had access to the information to cure the person the whole time, but they were squabbling over the cost, 500 gold, which, to be fair, is a lot of money, to prevent exhaustion when they were sitting on literal millions in gold and had constant income. Zoinks.
Wow.
Gross.
Yeah, like, having that character who'll sit back and watch everyone, like, do a thing. And, like, this is part of why I say, like, these characters can be really fun to have in game. David and I might have something of an addiction to Stardew Valley.
Yes.
I really like farming games, like, not just Stardew Valley. I will play every Story of Season. I won't do the new Harvest Moon. Heck, the new Harvest Moon, it's not good. But the old Harvest Moon, I will play all of them. There was a game, and I'm not going to say the name of it because they started to put it out. It's abandonware. They started to put it out. They didn't. This game was the typical farmer game where you move to a town, you inherit your family farm, and everyone is trying to get you out of town. Everyone, like, the mayor's like, what? You can't own that. What do you mean you own that? What do you mean you have a deed? And then everyone, like, you should be able to go to town and sell. No one in town will buy from you. Everyone is like, oh, have you given up yet? You should give up. You should leave. That was so, like, refreshing and such a hook for me that, like, if I get into a party and there's one person who's there who's all like, I'll help you out, but, like, I've got my own quest, and when it's time for us to part ways, I'm gone. I'm like, okay, but you're gonna help me out, right? Like, how long do we get this person? You're not gonna tell. I don't know. I find that kind of exciting.
Ooh,
no one's carried James since his mama. Truth.
Yep. I have a controversial take on Stardew Valley. The most fun I had playing Stardew Valley.
Oh, are you gonna do your evil run?
Was the Joe Jamart evil run, wherein I ruined Pierre's life because he knows what he did.
The most memorable evil bad character in mean character in Saucefire's life is his roommate who is eating all of his nice peanut stir-fry sauce that he made. That's heartbreaking. I'm sorry, Sauce.
Yeah.
Rip. Sauce needs his sauce. What can I say?
Okay, when it comes to food and
Oh boy.
and infuriating characters, I have made food, and then in the age of COVID, like, there was just enough leftovers for one person, and in the age of COVID, someone was like, "Hey, can I have those?" I'm like, "Sure," and then they went in and picked out what they wanted to eat and left the rest, and wee.
Yep. Okay, David. Who's your favorite edgelord?
So.
Oh, okay, I do have one more. The kid who's also the dragon from Spirited Away.
Yes. So, in doing research for this, because I don't have a Rolodex of edgelords like someone I know.
You don't know me.
I stumbled on an edgelord that I forgot about, that I have fond memories of. Al Simmons, Spawn, from Todd McFarlane's Spawn.
Mmm.
And like so tragic past, check. Tragic recent past, check. Broods, sits in an alley and decides he doesn't want to do anything, check, check, check. And then gets pulled into things.
Mm.
But ooh-wee, I love me some Al Simmons, and I especially love him when he isn't wearing the Hellspawn mask, when it's just like burnt up flesh and skull, because this man, in a lot of ways, he's living his best life.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's like everyone who shows up to antagonize this man is harshing his buzz, is killing his vibe. Don't kill this man's vibe. Let him brood above New York, New Jersey, wherever he is, over the homeless people in his kingdom in peace.
I feel like a very bad fangirl. I forgot the two of the best, edgiest of edgelords that need all of the love and affection out there. Spike, Spigel, and Jean from Samurai Champloo.
Okay, so for one, Spike, everything. Listen, Spike had a daddy and didn't treat him well.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
unacceptable.
This is why you have to play your edgelord correctly, or else you will lose your jet black.
Right.
You got to keep your jet black, y'all.
Two, Spike went headfirst, charging into every bit of trouble that he got into.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you have not seen Samurai Champloo, and a lot of younger anime watchers have not, it is a masterpiece.
So
it is
good.
by the same director and the same team that did Cowboy Bebop, and it is such a well thought out, very precise anime. I have nothing but good things to say about it. And yeah.
So let's see. In the chat we have a hi from Darker Than Black, which I have not seen.
It's good. You should see it. I mean, you have other things to watch first.
Yeah, I'm behind. I'm behind on a lot of things. Almost every pilot from Gundam is an edgelord. This is correct.
Especially Char. Is it Char? He's a jerk. Anyway, continue.
Gum put something down, and there's no way I'm gonna pronounce that name correctly.
Yusuke Urameshi.
Great, angry, lovable guy.
I need to figure out who that is. Oh! Yeah, it's from Yu Yu Hakusho, which I have not seen. Which, yeah. Or if you're watching the Filipino adaptation, is Eugene. Because apparently they did that. But, wow, people also searched for a hey. It's almost like other people are having this discussion.
Yeah, and so the funny thing is, I love edgelords so much that I'll see a character and be like, oh, that's my edgelord. So I start playing Stardew Valley for the first time in the long, long ago. Yeah. Long, long ago. And I'm like, oh, this is a sad leave me alone boy. I like me some Shane. Shane is my edgelord. Ooh. And then, like, I got to the first heart event, and I'm like, nope, not an edgelord, nope, my bad. I ran away from that one. Because I can't deal with other people's baggage in real life. Definitely not in a video game. Sorry. Current favorite edgelord is a spoiler from... Okay, without spoiling anything...
Very good.
Without spoiling anything directly. So when I finally played Final Fantasy 15, long after other people. Long after I should have. But there were reasons. finally got to play Final Fantasy 15, and I'm like, I expected who I was gonna like. I was like, these characters probably gonna be my favorites, especially Ignis because he looks exactly like Jared, our friend.
Oh man. Oh yeah,
And then
that's
I like had to message Jared, who understood none of this, and be like, I'm sorry, your doppelganger is not my favorite character out of this game. I feel like a bad friend. And he's like,
right. Like, okay.
like, yeah, but I feel bad about it. Because Prompto.
And you should feel bad.
And I'm not going to spoil anything, but I was like, oh, Prompto is the cinnamon bun. And I'm like, he's so cute. He's such a cinnamon bun. If I wrote this character, he'd have this background. And then it turns out the cinnamon bun is the Edgelord. Like, they're the same character in this game, and my brain melted. So there's another Edgelord. I really like Edgelords, y'all. Like, this is... Even... This is an Edgelord, as you get in Animal Crossing. And he's still my favorite. How many people has this pigeon murdered for their milk? I don't know. But I would love to find out. Pigeon milk's a thing in Animal Crossing.
Pain. Also, do you really want to know where the bodies are buried?
Oh, they're all gyroids now. That means nothing to you, but to Animal Crossing people, that's like...
There's a lot to unpack there.
Especially because, like, you get a gyroid fragment now, and you bury it. And if you water it... So, gyroids don't show up until this mofo comes to your island. And then once he shows up, fragments of gyroids start washing up. You then dig a hole, you put the gyroid fragment in it, you water it, and you watch a ghost come out of the ground. And the next day, you can dig up a full gyroid.
This man is a serial killer and plants...
No, we plant it for him.
That's aiding and abetting.
He's also just, like, clearly a mafia mob boss. Like, there's no question. I thought we were still in Stardew Valley. No, we've now moved over to Animal Crossing. I brought out... If you were only listening, I brought out my Brewster. So we are discussing Brewster.
Well, I mean,
yes.
if you plant a dead body, things will grow.
I got my Edgelords. You know, they stay with me. Surprisingly, you know, for those of you who know me, I'm going way back. Like, I love Digimon. Matt, the Edgelord, was not my favorite. I liked Joe, the nerd. Yes.
Digimon?
Yeah. I got my tag and crest. I got my Joe and Gomamon.
The things that I learn about...
I got my 20th anniversary, like... Yeah. Yeah, I love me some Digimon.
Noted.
Pokemon had the better games. Digimon had the better show.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. At least for Season 1. I will not defend anything past Season 1. Season 2 depends on you, but... Yeah. I also... The first time I watched Digimon, I was a sweet little innocent high schooler, and for those of you who don't know me, I went to a very private, very Christian school and was a very good little kid. I'd honestly never done a drug before. I had to have my wisdom teeth surgically removed. They filled me with drugs. And I was laying on my parents' couch, drooling on myself, and Digimon came on, and I'm like, they're little monsters. And then everything goes black and text spins around, and then they're big monsters. This is the coolest thing ever. Cyber Sleuth was really good. I am so beyond over the character designs in Cyber Sleuth, like, why they gotta be cyber sluts? Like, no tea, no shade, if you want to be a cyber slut, but, like, that main character was supposed to be, what, like, 15 and dressed that way? Like, I'm over it. It's also part of the reason, like, I know I need to play Persona 5. I've still not played Persona 5, because I'm like, number one, ooh, they're high schoolers, and number two, ooh, they're high schoolers that dress like that? I don't like it.
How can an outfit have that much coverage and still be
right?
risque?
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Is there a vertical metallic pole that spins somewhere in this game?
I mean, yeah,
Because it looks like there should be.
I think Dante from Devil May Cry
Oh,
counts as
absolutely.
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 You can be at, like, Soul is a very charismatic edgelord, and again, Soul is very like, oh, look at me, I'm so like. It's not like edgelord isn't just like I'm always doom and gloom, but there's certain like tropes that make it absolutely happen. The save points, yeah.
And like Dante's a great example of a edgelord who does things.
Yeah.
Like he's sitting in his office being cool, playing with his guns as men are wont to do. And then like the phone rings and then he's out there doing stuff and then he runs into people and he's like, I hate your guts for this reasons, we're gonna fight now. And like, the cloak goes whoosh, the sword goes burr, the guns go bang bang, and it's great. And he's super edgy but also does things like.
So yes, um, we have gone quite a while. Chat, you've been amazing. This has been so much fun. If you have any final questions or thoughts about edgelords or mean characters, I'm going to do a quick recap because we should probably get on with our night and let you all get along with yours. The most well-known edgelord of all time is done so dirty, the Lich King.
There
Oh boy.
is there's a lot to unpack about the lore in World of Warcraft, but that is a rant for someone who's more fired up about it than I am.
So, if you are looking to play an edgelord, or a very aloof character, or a standoffish character, or just a mean, grumpy character in a TTRPG, first off, please talk to your GM, talk to your other players in the zero session, make sure everyone knows what they're in for. If you say, oh no, I'm going to play someone who's chill, and then, like, you're a jerk the whole time, like, people need to know before they come to the table. Communicate early and often. Make sure there's a soft, nougaty center, and make sure there's some kind of kindness hook. Make sure that soft, nougaty center is seen sooner rather than later. So my example
Make sure you save a cat or two.
Right. With when I was talking to Adam, like, I was like, I want this to be here, and my GM for my Starfinder game, Emergency Power Podcast, absolutely picked up on what I was laying down. So one of the first things we did was we went and found a flower for an orphan, and the crew never got to see, like, the other characters in the game never got to see that handoff, never got to see that moment, but the audience and the players saw it, which made them go, okay, maybe this character isn't as bad. Not soft nudity center hecking captions. Nougaty. Nougaty. Not Duke. Okay. Live captions, y'all. As a player, be as thoughtful and observant as you can about other players. Give the other players a look behind the curtain. Be mysterious with questions, not dead air or a refusal to do anything. Be active. Help the party. Contribute. And if a character, everyone else at the table is not really picking up on, like, what the triggers are that are going to set off your character and let it be a fun and entertaining time, don't be afraid to tell them some of that stuff OOC. Whether it be like, hey, if you say this, it's going to set them off, and you'll get a little bit of revenge. All the way to, I really want our characters connect. Any chance we could do a scene, and it could have to do with this, because that will help. Don't be afraid to lean into your failures, because if you were playing a mean character, people are going to be entertained when you don't do well, and you cannot take that personally, and you should not get defensive about it, and you should lean into it, and don't be afraid to ham it up if you need to. ask yourself, why are they mean? What is their origin story outside of, I am a walking tragedy who likes nothing? Because that's not a fun or interesting character to play with. Figure out why they are so protective of themselves and what it would take to help them grow. Communicate with your party and especially your GM what your goals for the character are, how you plan for them to grow, if you plan for them to grow, and make sure you give these little moments that the other players and other characters can hook onto, even if they're small glimpses behind the mask, small glimpses of that nougaty center. Wow. Okay. Nope. Google speech to text does not know the word nougaty. And whatever you do, don't get personal with your meanness. Because no one's going to have a good time if they feel like they are personally being picked on. Communicate, 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 communicate. David, any final thoughts?
You're into Digimon is really who I'm still making peace with that. But no,
I've had Digimon statues in my house when you came over.
Why would I be able to recognize them?
That's fair, I guess. I still have my original Digivices. They still work. I can give you a Digimon, and I can have my own, and we can raise them, and then if we push them together, they will battle.
That's a lot to unpack.
I like both. I like both Trek and Wars. I like both Digi and Poke.
Yeah. Like when you look at the shiny decks that K is at, by the way, if you have shiny Pokemon, go on Twitter. Help K finish.
I am three shinies in Pokemon Arceus from having a complete living shiny dex. Patamon! Yeah! Yep, that's what I have. I have one of those original keychain Digimons that you push together and they fight. I have two of them. I have mine and my brother's because he gave up on his, so I took it. Oh, I don't have my Patamon up here.
That's gonna change. But my final thoughts about Edgelords is there is a well-earned disdain for Edgelords in TTRPGs. Not because the character trope and idea is bad, but because it's been executed poorly over and over and over again, often by 13-year-olds. But I hope this leads to more edgelords in the TTRPG space that are both well thought out and well done.
Because I watch a lot of actual plays and a lot of TTRPGs, and I need to be able to just sit there and be like, oh, I like. And also, Edge Ladies are freaking amazing. And even though I didn't like the show, that was not, what was the Marvel show about the angry?
Okay.
No, Marvel.
Marvel.
Vi? Oh my god, Vi. Okay, yeah, my Edge Lady, my number one Edge Lady is Vi.
Yeah.
I mean,
the one with the Marvel show with Elizabeth Olsen.
I don't know. The bad guy was David Tennant.
Oh, Jessica Jones.
Yes, Jessica Jones. Edge Lady.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, man, yeah. Super edgy.
Mm-hmm. Angry girl.
Mm-hmm.
I need the Huisen version. I need the version from freaking Arceus. But thank you, Sauce. But yes, Edge Ladies are also awesome. I'm playing an Edge Monarch. Yeah. More things on the list.
Yeah, spoiler alert, David Tennant is
Yeah,
the
sorry.
villain.
That is a little
season
bit of a
one
spoiler. I'm
of
sorry.
Jessica Jones. But Kay hates David Tennant for reasons. We'll do an episode on that
We
one day.
generally don't tell that to the internet because I want to not be crucified. Trixie is
Fair.
an edgelord. Well, Trixie would be an edge lady. But, maybe a little bit.
But David Tennant's like if you know David Tennant from Doctor Who, you know how good he can be. If you don't know David Tennant from Doctor Who, go find literally anything else he's done. He's always excellent.
Well, I will say, now that my secret is out on the internet, right, I am not a fan of David Tennant. But David Tennant in Good Omens,
Top notch.
freaking amazing. Oh my god. This is one of my treasures. This is an official Amazon Good Omens with Crowley, and I love it so much. Is there a gender-neutral edge term? I call them edge monarchs, because a monarch is gender-neutral. And that's what Soul is non-binary, so they are my edge monarch.
Please tell me there is not a Good Omen season 2 coming.
It is. It's coming. I don't know. I've apparently, Gaiman said that he had plans for another book, but just didn't have time to write it, so he's been working with Amazon. So I don't know. I'm very afraid.
Your boy Neil and I need to be locked into a room for about 15 minutes so that we can have a conversation.
Look,
and we'll just
gooder omens, yes.
Season 3, good.
Goodest omens. Gooder omens.
Right.
Because look, let's even American Gods was really entertaining. And then
for one season.
Yeah. Like, and that, yeah. I just want to talk. Listen, Neil, I just want to talk.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, again, even I want it to be good. I hope it's good. But also, look at how not entertaining American Gods got. How quickly. Like, I'm just right. Because
Fun fact: there's a whole bunch of reasons that happened due to poor show running, which I'm not going to get into on stream because there are plenty of places to find Hollywood slander, and I encourage you to go seek them out because the tea in Hollywood is always hot and spicy.
Mm-hmm. Smoking spicy hot. All right. I think, David, like, I thought this will be a shorter episode because this is like a me ramble thing, but no, we really had fun. Like, thank you, chat. You have been, you were always amazing tonight. New people, thank you for joining us, Gum. Y'all just blew it up, and we got distracted and went down rabbit holes, and that's exactly what I want to happen. And I got to talk about one of my most passionate tropes that I rarely see done right, and I want to see so many more of. So I think that about wraps up what we came here to talk about. David, who have you been, and what do you do?
I was and currently am David. You can find me on Twitter at FullRubberDucky, or toiling away in the mines that Kay oversees. And this is and has been the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show, where we talk about TTRPGs, occasionally get spicy about edgelords, and focus on intersectionality and inclusion, and making this a great space for everyone to play.
My other favorite edgelord is Percy. I could just go all night. I'm like, I went into Vox Machina thinking I'm going to love Vax, and don't get me wrong, I do love Vax, but Percy.
I mean, fair.
Can Critical Role just give me a Percy statue already? They've already delayed my Vax statue by 8 months, I think.
Ooh-wee.
Just give me a Percy. I will throw all the money at you for a wonderful person. Anyhow, I'm Kay. I am Edgelord enthusiast, Edge Monarch enthusiast, and often player. You can find my personal Edge Monarch over at the Emergency Power Podcast. I joined in season 3. We have new episodes that come out every other Wednesday, with the newest episode coming out tomorrow. We were just on Tales from the Tavern over on Gamer Mom Luna's channel. Hey! Speaking of the Emergency Power Podcast, Hot Boy Scriff himself, Supernova Jam, just hopped into the chat. Welcome. And if you are curious about that, you can check out me and the crew having a talk and just feel out our chemistry over on Gamer Mom Luna's channel. We just did a Tales from the Tavern with her, and she's amazing, and you should give her a follow anyway. On Thursdays, you can find me with the incredible Saucefire, who's also hanging out in chat, over on his channel, playing Waterdeep Tales. The next episode happens on the 25th, and that's where I play Trixie, Raccoon, Alchemist, Black Powder Enthusiast.
Powder enthusiast.
Yeah. It's fine. And starting over on the 29th, I will be over at the Red Hair Inn playing Halls of the Mad King. And if you hang out and chat, there's some things that David and I are looking to announce soon. Soon, TM. And part of that thing might involve... I'm on all the shows. I want to be on more shows, too. It's a problem. There's not enough time to do all the TTRPGs I want to do. And still sleep and do all the other things I want to do. When this new thing is announced soon, TM, there may or may not be an option to redeem some channel points. So, if you are hoarding your channel points, might be able to use them in an interesting way in the future. Chat, you have been amazing. Thank you so much. I am Kay. You can find me over at KDamnFear. You can find David over at Full Rubber Ducky on Twitter. If you have requests or guest villain arc, I mean, look, I actually have a guest villain. I have 2 guest villains planned for 2 campaigns.
Yep.
Who's Kay? I don't know. Hold on. I need to go ponder that for a hot... Who is Kay?
That is very existential. Also, instead of plugging something, a quick note about Vegeta. Vegeta is awesome for 2 reasons. 1, he's a better dad than Goku. And 2, he never refers to Goku as Goku. It's always Kakarot. Because Vegeta is like, listen, I'm not going to address you by your slave name. You are better than that.
And I just dropped the Discord link in chat. If you would like to join our Discord, there are lots of pictures of Gilmore, our 3rd co-host, who did not make an appearance tonight. He's really mad at me. I had to go into the office today. He is very upset. But, hey, Domokame! If you would like to hang out and request episodes, suggest things, see pictures of Gilmore, or just check out some of the memes that David and I like to spam in there, please come and hang out. And, when we announce this cool thing, soon TM, there will be some dedicated space there too. So come on in. Thank you again for joining us, chat. Thank you to everyone tuning in the VOD. You were all wonderful. I really enjoyed tonight's discussion. I want to keep going, but we really need to, very fashionably late, but appreciate you. So we tried last time. I found this whole cool thing that would scroll and thank everyone who was who followed, everyone who subscribed, and it just didn't work. So we're not going to do that tonight, but we will flip over to the end screen, and then I'm going to find someone awesome to raid over to. Who are we raiding over to? That's a good question. Oh, is D'Angelo up?
Yeah. He's playing Cult of the Lamb.
Excellent. We're going to go send you over to D'Angelo. He's been on the show before. He's a great friend. and does amazing stuff with Emerald Templars. So please go say hi, shout at him, and thank you all again. We will see you very soon. Have a great one.